Hey guys, it's Maymay, and I have not had a chance to play with the Letterboard Love stamp set since we got this in last week, so I thought I would give it a go. So, Friday afternoon before I left the office, I just sat down and played and made this little easel card, and I just turned my camera on because I thought this might work and I might want to show them how I did it, but it might not work. So, I just thought I would play a little bit and film my process. So, I really like how it turned out, and I decided this morning that I would go ahead and show you this one for our Tuesday video. So it is going to be a voiceover, but I think you will get the gist of it. We've made several easel cards together. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, as I said in the beginning, this features the Letterboard Love stamp set. And I just stamped using my Misty, the board, on some craft colored cardstock. And that was where I was starting. I really wasn't sure where I was going. So I just thought I want it to be fall themed, and I thought a craft colored marker board or letterboard would do the job. So then I trimmed it out in my trimmer. Now the cool thing about this is really just a rectangle. It's actually like 3 3/4 by 5, I think it is. I'm not exactly sure, but you could just cut a rectangle to fit it. And this way it's super easy for you to be able to use this on all of your projects. I took my corner chomper and using the 1/4 inch side, so the smaller one that I normally use, I rounded all the corners so I wouldn't have to try to cut around that corner and get it just perfect. And then it was time to stamp the letters. Now here's the cool thing about letterboards. If you ever look at them, like if you look at pictures of them online or if you see them in the store, nowadays people are making the letters so different and they're using so many different things. Instead of being just letters, you might can put hearts and stars and all different kinds of things. So you don't have to line it up perfectly with the lines. As a matter of fact, I didn't really pay much attention to the lines because with a letterboard, you can put the little connector pieces behind a letter anywhere you want it to go in the slices of the board, if that makes sense. So you don't have to be too stressed about getting these on a particular line. As long as lines run behind the letters, that's really all that matters. Now, I do think you probably have to pay attention to not doing them diagonally across the lines. Now, you could do them diagonally like a letter and then drop down and drop down. That'd be fine. But going across the lines, it might look different. But if you just like a lined background, you can do anything you want with this guy. So I just thought I would do Happy Fall, y'all. And I started with hap, and I had a happen. I had something happen. Look, I missed my H. I didn't press hard enough. That's so frustrating when you lift up and you look at your stamp and the ink is still on the stamp. But I found that my Illustrated Faith pen works really well to cover my Onyx Black ink if I ever make a mistake. So if you have those Illustrated Faith pens, they're perfect for that. They're like a 2-pack. Pretty sure we have those in the store. I'll make sure we do a blog post with all the products that I'm using today so you can click that blog post and get the links. So I just kept going. I did the P and the Y together here. Now, in hindsight, I wish I had done the Y separately as well because I feel like the Y should move closer to the P in this word. But I bet if you saw this card in the beginning in the finished project, you didn't even realize that. So chances are people aren't going to notice it. Now, right here, I think it's pretty noticeable, but I don't think anybody's going to notice that the Y and the P are a little too far apart, especially as loose as I'm doing most of the card, you know, kind of soft and not too precise. You ever known me to be precise? No, I didn't think so. So you can see the Y is just slightly off. It's really not that bad. And once it's all decorated, you totally don't even see it. So I'm using my Brutus Monroe scrubber, and I want to talk about that one for a second while we keep doing these letters. I take my Squeaky Clean cleaner and I spray it on one side. I spray it on the right-hand side of the pad. So I clean my letters on the right-hand side, or I clean my stamps on the right-hand side of the pad, and then I kind of clean them off on the left-hand side. So that's just how I use my scrubber. Just wanted to give you a little tip about that. So here you see I laid these letters out, and they can be a little fussy. There's all kinds of tips and tricks for doing this. You can use a ruler to line them up. You can stick them to your ruler. I've even found that if you use like a pencil with an eraser on the top, you can move the letters around and the stamps around and they won't stick to the eraser. But I was just playing and took my time, and actually it's kind of fun to just kind of lay there and get everything lined up. So here's the word fall, and you can see I have to use that L twice. In several places you'll have to use your letters twice, but really not a big deal. That's the beauty of clear stamps. What did we do before clear stamps? Stamp positioners. That's what we did. You could totally use your Misty with this, by the way, or whatever stamping tool you have if you wanted to use that to line this up. But it's not really that hard. So here comes the word y'all, and I think it's super cute. And again, anytime you're using these bold, I can't say again because I didn't tell you this. When I'm using these bold letter images like this, I really like to use my Onyx Black or any of the VersaFine Clairs. That rich pigment ink really coats these bold stamps so you get a really good impression. And if I ever skip, like I did on that H, I can use that little pen to clear that up. Now I decided I wanted to put these stripes behind it, so I cut this piece to be the size of an A2 card, which is 4¼ by 5½, so it's the full front of the card. And when I laid this guy on, I just felt like there were way too many stripes happening, and I was like, I don't know if I really like this. And I'd already cut the piece and I didn't want to waste it, so luckily it was double-sided, and this looked better to me. So I decided to go with the pumpkin-y side. I'm going to pop this up on foam. This card has a lot of dimension. Between the cardstock pieces we're going to use in a minute and the foam tape that I'm using, there's a lot of dimension. So this might be one you want to make an envelope for, like a dimensional envelope, and you may have to pay a little more to mail this one. But this is one of those things they can actually keep out year after year like decoration, so I kind of like that idea. So the hard work is done because now we're going to let all of this chipboard do the work. I went into the little decorative brad pieces from the Celebrate Autumn pack, and this little squirrel has been talking to me for 3 days. He's like, put me somewhere. I want to be on a project. So there he is. And then I was like, I wish I'd have seen this word fall before, because I would have totally just put it in the middle and not stamped. But then I looked and it pretty much lays over what I stamped. So I decided to do it and go with it. And look, it works. I was pretty proud of it. So a little bit of the black shows above it, but I'm not worried about that. No one would really notice that. I mean, unless they're just nitpicking the card apart. But I think once it's finished and it's super cute, you'll never see it. So I keep using these little chipboard pieces, and I decide at the top, I want to have these little guys close to each other. But because they're chipboard, I really can't overlap them without adding another layer of dimension, which in a minute I do anyway. But I decide if I put these close together, I can take one of these little brads at the top and bring another color in, as well as kind of hide that stem where it just kind of hits that round piece. You know, there's just sometimes things just bother you when you look at it, and that was just one of those things for me. So I'm taking my Tim Holtz snips, and I'm going to snip the brad legs off of this. Now, if I were making this a second time, like if I were going to make another one, I might just put the brad on as it should have been. But since I was kind of building this from the bottom up, I just thought this would work fine. So I lay it there to see what it's going to look like, and you'll see I just want to hide that little stem area. It's just something that was bothering my eye, and I decided to do it with foam. Remember I told you I was going to add another layer anyway? I decided to do it with a little piece of foam, so stick a little on the back there, and then that's going to stick between those two pieces. I think that looks super cute, but it's not done. I think the other corner needs something as well. So while playing in my stash, I find this little piece, and it's kind of white with little leaves, and it was okay, but it didn't really speak to me. And I didn't want to get it too close to the squirrel because I thought it looked kind of odd next to the squirrel, so I kind of wanted to have something to break it apart. So that's why I put the little leaf there. But it's a little too white as I look at it. It's a little too crisp and clean. So I not dig into my stash, I reach over on my desk and I get my vintage photo distress ink. This is always close to me, always at hand. And I just kind of knock that white color back. You don't tell it so much on video, but on the actual project, it's a lot more knocked back than that. That white just really pops on camera. And because I held that in my hand so much, I was afraid I got some of the sticky off the back. So I decided to add some art glitter glue to that. And I found too, the pieces that come on the brad kit are stickier than the pieces that come in the chipboard embellishment pack. So I'm noticing that some of them I feel like I need to add glue, and then some of them I feel like I don't. So just, go with what it feels like to you, because you don't want the pieces to fall off in the mail. So put a little foam and some glue on that little leaf because it was going to be lifted up on top of that chipboard piece. And that is the front of the card. Now I'm just going to cut myself an A2 size card base. So I'm cutting a piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock in half at 4¼ and I'm going to score it in 2 spots. Now, I scored this one at the normal spot, which is 5.5. That's your regular fold mark for an A2 card. But I also scored it at 2.5 on the front of the card. I did not score it in the middle. You can score it in the middle of the front if you wanted to, but I decided to drop it down just a little bit. Now, why am I making that score? Because this is an easel card. So what we're going to do, we're going to fold it in half like we normally would, but then we're going to fold that middle flap on the front one more time so that when we glue our card front to it, that's going to be what creates the easel stand. And when we glue, this is where it's important. You only want to put your glue on the part at the bottom of your easel, right there. Now that I'm doing it, I can show you right there. Only half of that, so that the top of the card itself is loose and can stand up on the easel. So because I made this card front the same size as the card base, I was able to stand it up and kind of line it up that way. And now I'm just going to take my little corner rounder and round all four corners to match what I had done on the letterboard. So still using the 1/4 of an inch instead of the 1/2 of an inch corner round there. Now with all easel cards, you have to create a stop for them to stand up on. So I decided to go into that chipboard pack again. I love to let the paper and the ephemera do the work, right? So I go into there and I find this little saying that is so cute. It says, "Oh, fall, it's nice to see you again." I don't have to pop this up because it's chipboard, it's already dimensional, but I wanted it to be real easy for the recipient to just kind of lock it into place. So I decided to put it on another piece of foam and then stick it down. Now, in hindsight, I wish I would have decorated underneath this before I stuck it down. I wish I would have let this be the last thing I did, but I was kind of thinking I wasn't going to put anything behind it. But once I stuck it down, I was like, oh, I don't like the contrast. It was just too much for me. So I went to my sticker sheet and I pulled off one of the long stickers that was at the bottom, and I attempt, hear me say, I attempt to line it up straight underneath there. I would have done much better had I lined that up straight before I stuck that piece down. So it is crooked. And you know what? I'm not going to stress about it because I don't think anybody's going to notice it in the finished project. And I think if you're making this card for somebody and they receive it, they're going to be grateful to get it and they're not going to pick it apart. So I'm going to let it be crooked. Look how crooked it is. And I'm going to point it out to you. Look how crooked it is. It's all right. It looks cute. All right. So I match up the other side as best I can, and just like I should, it's a little crooked too. So both sides are a little crooked, and that's okay. So stick this little piece down and trim off the excess. Now don't throw that sticker away when you're done with trimming this off because there's a lot left. Stick it back on your sticker sheet and you can use it over and over. All right, the last thing I needed, I thought the bottom was a little bit sparse, so I decided to go back to my sticker sheet and add some of these little leaves, which I really think makes this pop. It looks like they just kind of landed underneath that little sign. So I stick several around. What a good way to let the paper do the work. I mean, we did some stamping, very little, really, if you think about it, and you look at the piece and all of the paper and the stickers and the chipboard pieces and even a brad. It does all the work for you, and it just looks like you bought this at the store. I promise you, people won't know that you didn't. They'll be really impressed with your card making skills. So here it is, all complete, all of its flaws and all. And if you see it this time, you'll probably notice the flaws where the first time I showed you, you probably didn't notice them. Don't stress about that sort of thing. It's more important for you to have fun and for you to take the time to send somebody a card just to tell them, "Happy fall, y'all," or "I miss you," or "It's good to see you last time we got together," or anything. You can send a card to somebody for any reason, and that's more important than worrying about being perfect because you're not going to be perfect. We just can't. So I hope you enjoyed this one. I'm really glad I turned the camera on. I wasn't sure if that was going to even work, but I think it did. And there you go, a super cute easel card. Now I get asked all the time, okay, so when you make an easel card, where do you sign it? Look at all this real estate on the back. You can cut another piece. You can stamp on the back. You can stamp on a separate piece and glue it on. Lots of places to sign. And the beauty of signing an easel card on the back is that this can be used over and over, like on a windowsill or on a desk, because it doesn't even interfere with any of the decorating. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. Be sure to check out the blog post below if you want to see any of the links to supplies and things that I used. And if you make this card, I want to see it, or even one like it. Head over to our customer gallery on our website. You can add your projects that you're making there and give us some inspiration. And if you need some inspiration, that is the place to go. We have over 1,000 projects on there submitted by viewers just like you, and you will be so amazed at what they can do. We also have all of our social media sites available to you, from Facebook to Instagram to Twitter. Check us out there, and you can tag us in what you're making there as well. Hey, thanks so much, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.